Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 10th Street Journal podcast. This is episode 3. My name is Alan, also known as Dragosi. We got a full crew this week. First off, we got Shinogi. What up, Shinogi?
How's it going?
How you doing, man? How you doing this week?
Pretty good, man. Just chill.
Good to hear, man. Next up, we have the Pope himself, Pokey. What is up, Pokey?
How's it going, everybody? Good to be here. How you been, Dragosi?
Oh, can't complain. A lot of crazy stuff happening around in life and magic and all that stuff this week. So yeah, we got some cool stuff to talk about. And last but not least, we have our newest member of the 10th Street Journal, John Ramos. John, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing, brother?
It's great to be here. Great to be here. Doing well. How are you doing, Dragosi?
Can't complain. We're excited to have you. Very excited to have you on, and
Very excited to be here.
oh man, good deal. So, we got some stuff to talk about this week. First off, August State of the Game was announced or was just dropped the other day. We'll talk about that and kind of the details, the juicy bits in that article. And then we just had a big surprise B&R announcement this past week on Monday. We've all had a couple of days to mess around with the formats and play with them, and we'll talk about that as it pertains to standard and historic for arena purposes. And then lastly, we'll kind of talk about the 10th Street Journal, some updates coming in from our side, some big things happening. So we'll kind of go through all of that stuff at the end, and we'll obviously as well include links to all of that stuff as well in the show notes here. So first off, let's kick it off here. State of the Game for August has come out. They just put that out a couple days ago, actually. And there's some cool stuff to talk about here. So first off, they announced Amonkhet Remastered, which is sweet. I know that we had talked about Amonkhet Remastered a bit in previous podcasts. We also done some articles on that. There's definitely some articles coming up about them as well too. So that's really exciting. They did talk about the mechanics that are coming in here, as well as previews. So first thing, let's break this down. 338 total cards between Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation, which is it's a lot of cards. It's definitely not all of the sets, right? I think.
They still have like 100 cards from the original sets didn't make the cut.
Okay. Yeah, so that's there's a fair bit that's lost here, but more than likely the stuff that was lost was probably draft chaff, I would assume. So yeah, so that's coming. You can get them in boosters, which is good news for that. We can actually buy booster packs of this, as well as limited events for both sealed and draft, and then through crafting cards. And then this is one thing that's kind of interesting to me here, and I'm curious what you guys think about this specifically. They focus on creating an interesting, repeatable, limited player experience. What do you think that entirely means? Because I'm curious on what do you think the impact of them picking cards would be for that particular bullet point? Any thoughts on?
Originally in MTGO, the remastered sets, when they did them, that was supposed to be primarily for limited formats, while also the secondary option, which is also a primary 1A, primary 1B, is to get the cards out as well. So, but you also want to give a player experience of what originally was, I guess, the master sets of what we see today, and that's basically what this set will be when it's released on Arena.
Cool. Yeah. I'm very curious. Yeah. I mean, like you were saying, yeah, the master sets had been really great draft experiences and limited experiences. Generally, they were very well received for their limited play. So hopefully, I mean, and also to be fair, like Amonkhet Limited was pretty sweet. So yeah, I'm just curious what other changes they've made or how they've curated the cards to go with that. So we'll have to find out how that's gonna go. And last thing here, providing support for historic and eventually pioneer constructed formats, which we know is coming. Assumedly in mid 2021 as a full-fledged release there. So that's exciting, very cool. We did see that Embalm and Internalize are coming back, which is sweet, as well as Exert, and they talk about how some of those mechanics are going to function. For those of us or those of you who had played the beta back when Amonkhet was on Arena, definitely some things have changed since then. A lot of UI has been overhauled since those days, so it should be interesting to see kind of what those changes now look like and how they've modernized that a bit since we've last seen them. And then previews are coming up here. There is a dedicated article that they wrote out that we'll link this as well in the show notes. They're going to have the card image gallery for it as well when it comes up, but previews start on August 10th and they run through the 12th leading up to the release. And there are six total different sources for what they're going to be doing previews here. So I guess what do you guys think? Are you guys excited for Amonkhet? Are you guys do you guys think it's going to make a big splash, or do you think it's going to be kind of just, a couple? We're going to see a lot of the same cards and historic anthologies, kind of like cards are going to kind of dominate, and this is just going to be kind of another just adding some, maybe a little bit more spice and not as much of a.
I feel like it's going to bring a little more diversity into the meta. But honestly, I don't know too much about that set because it was way before my time. Well, not way before, but I started on Eldering, so I don't really know much about the sets before that.
I guess I would be the paper boomer here. Amonkhet, when I played it in Standard, people that haven't played it are going to see why Mono Red and Red Black aggro was so good.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get Hazoret, Earthshaker Kenra, Soul Scar Mage, and Raminap runes, which was incidentally banned in Standard at the time, which gave Red a little bit of reach. But Red already has a lot of reach with Embercleave, so combining those with all the Wizards, Wizards Lightning, Lightning Strike, I have a feeling Mono Red's going to be a tier 1 deck in Historic.
Yes.
Because you can't ignore how good Hazoret is at 4, how good Embercleave is, how good Soulscar Mage is, and all the rest of the Wizards. Because incidentally, all of the 1-drops are Wizards or can be Wizards, and then Wizards Lightning is effectively Lightning Bolt. So
Yes.
you already have those, and then Red at the time of Amonkhet, if you find a way to get Ankrat Crasher and the Earthshaker Kenra, you are incentivized to, or at least your opponents are really, really hard pressed to block because they really can't. So Mono Red's going to be, I don't know what's going to compete with it because there's not a lot of cards that were in Amonkhet that were actually very good outside of the red cards and Hour of Promise, which I can't wait for. I can't wait for Hour of Promise.
Yeah,
Is
definitely.
this the point where I start rambling off all the other cards?
Yes.
Yes.
I was just say Scarab God.
Those scoop
All of the final cards I think were good. Geez, where do we even go? We've got Liliana's Death Magistry back. We've got Big Red coming back. Gideon of the Trials. Hazoret, yeah, Ronasi and Downwell in Historic is going to be absolutely beautiful. The green black rock decks are going to make a comeback. I'm ready for it. Combat Celebrant. I know all the cards I'm naming are still red. Anointed Possession, Prowling Serpentport, Champion of Ronus. All of just every single good.
As for
Embalm, Eternalize, Godfarrow's Gift. This set was just a lot to take in at the time. We were just coming off the back of Kaladesh, which had a lot. Or we were heading to Kaladesh after this one, weren't we?
No. It was Kaladesh, then Amonkhet. Yes, you were right the first time. We were coming off the back of Kaladesh.
We're coming off the back of Kaladesh. Yeah, we were. Okay, so we had Shadows, Eldritch, Kaladesh, Aether Revolt. Yeah, and then we were heading into Ixalan after this one. But this set was just a lot to take in. Kaladesh already had a ton of new mechanics. We had energy that we were dealing with, and then they just slapped this card down. We had cards that were printed sideways on cards. Like, I looked
Yeah.
at this set on the first time and I was like, this is a mess. Like, this is just, why did they turn these cards sideways? Like, they went with the fancy wordplay again. Like, we had Dust to Dawn, Rags to Riches was one. My favorite one was Cut to Ribbons. That card was an absolutely underpowered mythic, I believe it was, or rare.
It's rare.
It was a rare. Yeah, that card never saw play until somebody put it as a one of in a main board, and they were like, "Wow, this card just wins." There were a ton of cards like that in this set. We had Nissa, Steward of Elements, come out of this set too. I thought we talked a lot about it last week on the podcast, so I'll shut up now. But it's going to be a great whatever 300 they pick out of this. I don't think they can get it wrong, and if they manage to, then I'm going to be surprised.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that we are. I think John, you are right. Mono Red's going to be tier 1. I have showing up here on the screen, kind of just like a rough drafted first list of what I would think Mono Red is going to look like. Oddly enough, we're dropping out. What's his name? Torben. Dropping out Torben in favor of Hazaret, because I think Hazaret's just a little bit more like what you want to be doing, or just like it gives you that extra sustain, extra read right through. Like you're pretty much hellbent most of the time, anyways, and you get to turn extra lands, excess lands, shocks, right, which is really nice. So, but it kind of combines. I put in here as well. There was an old mono red list that included cards from Kaladesh and from Ixalan, but I think that since we don't have Kaladesh, and I think that some of the cards from Ixalan have kind of been outclassed at this point by some of the other cards that have come out since. We're kind of looking at very similar, Fanatical Firebrand, Fervent Champion, Robert the Rich, Earthshaker Kenra, Frostodon needs to get in there because that was part of the deck at the time. Ultimately, also incidentally ended up getting banned in Standard at the time too. On Crop Crasher, NX, Hazaret. Like gotta load up on Ember Cleaves and just some burn spells. Like I think this is going to be a really, really fast deck. It's going to get through. It's going to be able to sustain and grind out a bunch of other decks in the format. I think that for any of us who did end up playing in Standard back in the day, back during Amonkhet, this was people had a love-hate relationship with this deck because they either loved the heck out of the deck and played it to no end. It was actually one of the best decks in Standard for multiple sets, multiple set releases. If I recall correctly, it was one of the top decks out there, and either people loved it, play it, or they absolutely despised it and absolutely hate it. So it will be something that's going to be a very polarizing list to come into the format. I'm also kind of excited because with Amonkhet we get all the cycling cards again. We get all the really cool cycling cards that came from that set. So the cycling dual lands, we get oh god, what was there was a Sheffet monitor to go like fetch up lands. There was the what's the one that you put all the cards back from, or you get to like get all the cards back from that you cycled that turn from the grave. It's a black card.
It's all the cards that were cycled or discarded. It's Shadow of the Grave.
Shadow of the Grave, yeah. And then there was like there was a card that made like major cycling basically. Right, I forget what that one.
New Perspectives.
New Perspectives, right? We get New Perspectives, right? And so we have two whole sets of with cards with cycling in them, which is sweet. We have a new finisher in Zenith Flare. So yeah, it's like getting all of that kind of in on board with it as well too. In addition to having the cycling lands from Historic Anthology as well too. Like the deck just kind of gets a lot of legs as well. But I'm also excited for Approach of the Second Sun. I think that this this set and this this remaster is going to be really sweet. I hope that it has a big impact on the format. I am just worried that there is going to be like I think I'm trying to think like how are some of these decks beating like the best goblin draws, or even the average goblin draws at that for that matter, right? Like goblins is a beatable matchup, but at times where they can just kind of combo you out of nowhere. I'm curious to see what the decks and the cards from Amonkhet can do to help kind of combat that and kind of help keep the diversity in the format healthy. But yeah, so very exciting. That should be coming up. That'll be coming soon. That's releasing next week on the 13th. So that's be ready for that, guys. There's going to be, I'm sure, tons of content around historic and Amonkhet base historic here. So next thing here that we have to talk about in here is rotation and renewal for 2021. With rotation kind of coming around the corner here, we are in the kind of renewal stage of the format right now. They're going to be adding a couple of things in here for standard core 2021 play and ranked. So basically, you're going to be playing with there are two specific queues that are for playing with cards that are only going to be in rotation for next for September. Where those queues, you won't see any of the Guilds of Ravnica stuff, or the Spark or Core 20. Well, you'll be able to play with everything from Eldraine, Theros Beyond Death, Ikoria, and Core 2020. So interesting there, and then also the renewal, the little renewal egg is well there. So if you logged in prior to September 17th, you get a sweet little gift to help you start your collection in the next for the next rotation of Standard. Most likely going to be pushing towards like Zendikar stuff. And then lastly,
Now, is it true about the Zendikar? There's not going to be Eldrazi or anything?
Yeah, I think so. I think I had heard that the Ulamog and Kozilek were basically beaten, and then like Emrakul was prisoned in the moon. So, from what I remember hearing, that they aren't going to be doing anything Eldrazi based on this one.
Mhm.
At least not any of the Titans, as far as I know. But there might be some like minor spawns or something like that might show up, but like nothing huge. We're not getting like another Ulamog, Kozilek, Emrakul set of cards. And lastly here, kind of the other big thing, Jumpstart is leaving Arena as far as the queue is concerned for the event. So August 16th is the last day that will be on. And so be ready to, if you haven't had your opportunity to get into those, play some. They're really fun, and get on that before it leaves. Otherwise, you're gonna have to craft cards out of.
Yeah, I did make sure about that because a lot of people on Reddit were kind of worried about not being able to play the cards again if they ended the event. You can craft anything but the basic lands.
Right. Yeah. Which is also kind of a bummer. But you know what? Truth be told, they're probably gonna put the basic lands in the shop at some point in the next 3 months. So it's not a huge deal. We're not gonna lose out on them. So yeah. So that's that. Otherwise, in this, they had some small updates to deck builder quality of life and some interesting things happening in the brawl queues. They added Ruined Halo and Gideon's Intervention to the ban list. Ruined Halo for the standard ban list, and then Ruined Halo and Gideon's Intervention for the historic brawl ban list. So, nothing too major there. I don't know are you guys big on big brawl players or anything? Or is this kind of big news for you?
I'm not a big brawl fan.
Yeah,
so
I'm a fairly regular brawl player, so
there's always one.
yeah, this is actually pretty big to me. It's such a small format, and these are super oppressive cards. Nobody, even Gideon's Intervention in like casual EDH, like full 100 cards, open sets, like cards like these, like can just not be fun. It's pretty much how they did with Draenith Magistrate, Oko. It falls under the same categories. You just play it, and your opponent can't play the deck. A lot of people like to build commander-centric EDH decks or brawl decks. It's kind of a big point of it is you want your commander to be like the one doing stuff, and your deck is just the support. But when you've got cards like this, especially in a 1-0 format, it's just not fun. 2 mana, you can't play your best thing. 4 mana, you can't play your second best thing. Draenith Magistrate, you can't play your commander. And a lot of people will bring up the argument where they're like, "Oh, just blow it up." It's not always an answer. Like
Yeah.
it's an enchantment. I get that, but not everybody wants to play green. It's a world I would love to live in, but not everybody wants to play green.
Fair enough. Yeah, I agree. I agree. I got it. I was unfortunate enough. I was playing Brawl against one of my, and he just randomly whipped out a Magistrate on me before it got banned, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's really good." Scoop phase. Let's get out of here because I can't do anything. But yeah, so it's like I definitely agree. Good steps taken towards making this a lot more of a fun format. Hopefully they introduce just 100 card soon. Even arena EDH would be sweet. But yeah. Anyways, okay, cool. So that's that. Links for this and for the state of the game will be in the description and the show notes below, as well as for the original link or the link for the dedicated Amonkhet article, so you can check out the update. They will be updating that article with spoilers as they get released and spoiled next week. So be on the lookout for that. Next thing here we're going to talk about is the state of standard and historic. Talking through, we had the bans just came through on Monday, which was a big surprise. They didn't announce it ahead of time or anything like that. It just kind of dropped, and it's really interesting to see exactly what they did for bans. I guess anybody want to take away with what the bans were? Let's start with standard. Let's start there.
These were huge.
It
And
took a lot
again,
of people
we
by
were
surprise.
just talking about this last week, how implementing a ban on wilderness reclamation, growth spiral, 3TEF, the whole package that we were talking about, and how and I'm actually kind of proud of the Magic community on this one, but the outrage that it would spark being so close, the tournaments are done, just let the dogs run loose for another month or two, and then we go and throw it in the back of the closet and be done with it. But I honestly did not think they were going to ban Cauldron Familiar. I thought that was just going to be the plague of standard until we got an answer. But Wilderness Wreck, Growth Spiral, Teferi Time Raveler, Cauldron Familiar all being banned at the drop of a hat immediately after the weekend. Wish I could say I saw it coming. I honestly didn't. I thought they were going to let it ride out. But yeah, kudos. We have peace and standard for 2 months.
I'm ecstatic. I'm
Honestly, oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. I was just gonna say that I my number one hated card in standard in really Magic's history, because I've been around, so for those who don't know, I've been playing Magic since the dark, and if you want to go into why I call myself a paper boomer, that's why, because I've been playing since like 95, 96, and I've been through every standard, or virtually every standard, and Teferi is the most oppressive card I've ever had to play against. It basically gives you 10 to 11 mana worth of effects for 3 mana, and it basically stops the opponent from playing Magic, and you don't get very much interaction because your whole focus is either to kill this or you lose to it 3 or 4 turns later because you can't get rid of it, and then it snowballs the game exponentially after each turn. So when they ban it in standard and they ban it in historic, which will come up next, it basically creates a whole new format, because the other reason why I'm ecstatic about this is because Teferi, you have to account for the card even if you're not facing it all the time. That's how powerful that and how format warping Teferi is because you have to account for it even if it's not the 100% of the format. Ergo, you have to play main deck answers to it or suffer the consequences in win percentage when you're playing against a deck. I.e., you have to play main deck negates, you have to play main deck mystical disputes. With it gone and not having to account for it, cards that were not as, or excuse me, cards that were bad in the sense of quote unquote mid range cards like Thief of Sanity, Lazav, 4 and 5 mana spell or 4 and 5 mana cards that didn't do specifically anything when they came into play are all playable now because Teferi's gone. And our evaluation on cards now are much different from the PTSD that we have from Teferi. because you had to essentially say, is this card good against Teferi? No, it's not. Okay, next card. So
I remember having that exact discussion.
I'm so happy this card's gone.
Yeah, I remember having that exact discussion with somebody about like when you're evaluating cards for a deck, is it good? Is it going to be able to stand up to the fairy? And 9 times out of 10, the answer was no. And it was never a card that was standing up to the fairy. Is this card going to be able to answer the fairy or beat the fairy? Yeah, most of the time it was. So yeah, that the oppression of free fairy is no longer. Standard is in a much healthier place, I think. Shinogi, what do you think, man? What are your thoughts? I know you're the big mono red player, so you sometimes can get in underneath. Sometimes, what are you thinking?
Honestly, standard's actually really fun. With the fairy gone, all around. It's just I get less headaches. Okay, honestly, it's just playable. You know, that's all I can say. You know, it's just
Yeah.
playable. I always got headaches every time I got in the standard. That's why the big part of me, big reason why I went to historic, because it was just more diverse instead of just playing the same two decks. You know, so I'm really glad the ban list got rid of the problems. You know, like Teferi, Wilderness. Um, I always hated freaking Cat's Oven. Cauldron Familiar is a great band. So
Yeah, I think that um the well and to what Pokey said earlier, we had talked about this, multiple weeks in a row on the podcast and stuff about what are they gonna do? Are they gonna let this go? Because we've seen, we went through an iteration at a time where Reclamation was the best deck, then Bant Ramp was the best deck, then Reclamation was the best deck again, and now it's gone. We were like, okay, what are we gonna do? Or what are they gonna do? Are they just gonna let this ride out, right? Well, I think that they made the right call. We thought that it was going to infuriate people that they just banned the cards after the fact and not, for any specifically large tournaments to make them interesting. But for what it's worth, they're doing this to help people understand and try to regain player confidence in the format. That they want people coming into rotation and Zendikar Rising standard, with some amount of enthusiasm and excitement for the format. And doing this really absolutely opened that up, allowed the format to breathe a lot more for the 6 weeks that it's going to be happening. And so that's very, very exciting. Can't wait, can't wait to explore more of it. What's coming up with Zendikar here in about a month or so. So we got some time here, but cool. Yeah, the next thing here obviously was historic as well. John touched on that. Wilderness Reclamation was suspended, and Teferi Time Raveler was suspended. Effectively, they're going to be. So let's be honest. What are you guys' thoughts on that? I know we've all been playing a little bit of historic here and there. So what do you guys think?
As far as historic goes, I think Wilderness Rec needs to hit the ban list. I do believe there is a point in time where for historic, Time Raveler won't be an issue because historic's going to be pushing towards that modern format, and Time Raveler's he's a house in modern, but he's not the oppressive force that he was in standard. So I think there's the way they inject cards into the historic format with the anthologies. I believe it's easier to kind of let the player base uh, have their cake and eat it too, and not cut the fun out from everybody. Because I'm not gonna lie, it does feel pretty bad having 4 copies of this card in a digital format that you just can't play with. Regardless of if they give you back your wild cards, like it's now banned in Brawl. Um, the game's about playing. It's not about having a bunch of things locked up. And even scrolling through my collection and seeing Foros that I have red listed, I got wild cards for them, but still at the same time, like if you don't have 4 of them and you open one in a pack, like how bad does that feel?
Mm-hmm.
I think for banned cards, I think they effectively removed them from packs.
Do they
ICRs.
remove them from the
Yeah, I
packs?
think they remove them from packs and ICR, so you can't ever get if
Yeah,
they're banned in both formats, which is like there's a handful of cards that are that, right, which like what's it called, fires and fires of invention, agent of treachery, now Teferi, like those are going to be um those are I think are removed from packs, just
Which
so
yeah,
that yes.
I think it's still just weird too, because like imagine wanting to fire off, they roll back around, say, a draft. They roll back around a traditional draft for this set. I want to crack some packs or whatever. I don't have any Teferis. Maybe I want to pull one. Maybe it comes off the ban list. Just removing that option and then later on being like, yeah, here it is, but you gotta, you know, buy packs
Yeah.
now instead of being able to hit your drafts later on and get them. I think they've still got a lot of tweaking to do on this. The suspended list, again, I've changed my viewpoint on it. I think the suspended list is better exactly for the point that I'm speaking on. It's just not have fun to have cards you can't do anything with. Or implement a crafting system, please. Give us a crafting system. If you want to ban all these cards and leave us with 4 copies of absolute duds, let us break them down and do something.
I totally agree on that one.
Yeah, I'd say that yeah, if they did that, they would have to stop giving the wild cards back effectively, uh, because that's just kind of like hemorrhaging cards to players. I mean, it costs them money effectively. It does kind of eat in what they can get from profit margins, player microtransactions and stuff. I will say though, it'll be interesting to see. So I guess for one we are gonna have Pioneer coming in at here soon, or into the arena soon. So yes, Teferi is alive there. Definitely he's not banned there. I'm positive. So there is that to look forward to. So we do have that to think about. Teferi is also technically legal in Historic Brawl. This ban is just for Standard Brawl, as far as I'm aware. So Historic Brawl, you can still play it. And then also, I don't know if they removed it from packs or draft, but they definitely removed it for packs like that you buy from the store. So that there may be a differentiation there. I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah. But I think though what you did say, there is something to be said that yeah, with the quality of the cards that they're adding in with the anthology series and anthology sets, it is possible that Teferi may have a home once again in historic, but yeah, right now, yeah, the pool is far too small. We definitely don't have quite the extent of cards. Like we don't have, I mean, we have duress, right? But we don't have like position. We don't have thought seize. We don't have things that we can just like very very quickly something like Teferi. So yeah, it is something that could be coming up here in the. I for one am a very excited boy about this. I hated Reclamation Passion. I think they missed the mark on the last BNR and by banning X. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I think that they missed the mark by not banning Reclamation in the last BNR in addition to Nexus of Fate. As much as I love taking extra turns, the card was toxic. So yeah, but I'm happy that this is kind of shaking up the format a bit, and I expect Muxus to go as well the way these two very very quickly here once Amonkhet comes out and Goblins is still a dominating force in the format. I think Muxus is kind of the next card on this list to personally. I guess at the point right now, I guess what do you guys think about the kind of the state of historic as it is? I know we're getting a change up next week, but if there was anything that you would think is a problem, or you guys think the format's healthy, like what do you guys think kind of overall about just historic as a?
I play it. I've been actually testing for standard a little bit more than historic. I was going to do that after I was planning on playing in the Red Bull Open. However, that's not going to happen because I have more than enough stuff to deal with. So, but the historic meta, as far as I know, was all goblins at first, and then you have your tiers of we'll say mono blue, Gruul, or mono red, whichever, mono red burn, and field decks, and then goblins, and then sprinkle in all your tier 2 decks that are allowed to be played because of Teferi and Reclamation being on. I think the format is fine, but I'm more of an old timer where you have to have something as busted as Reclamation or Teferi in order to actually do something about it. I don't think Muxus, especially with Teferi gone, I don't think Muxus is as bad as people say it is. I mean, most of them are like, well, it's Winota with less steps, and you're able to, if all right, for example, if Goblins is the only tier 1 deck, then with the power level that was brought with Jumpstart and all the anthologies, you're able to kind of like, all right, I know what I have to prepare for. So the card that I used the most against them that was really good with Mono Black, don't play Mono Black, by the way, until another card comes in or anything of the sort, because Mono Black is just not good without Fatal Push, Thoughtseize, or any of the sort. I've tried it. It's not tier 1. But the card that really helped me the most was Grafdigger's Cage. It basically effectively stops Conspicuous Snoop and Muxus because they can't play off the top of their library and nothing comes in. And if you can deal with their powerful draws, in that since Teferi and Reclamation are gone, you can play more removal and like shock or disfigure or any 2-mana removal spell. So you can kind of like hedge against your goblins like Skir Prospector and the like. Most people are going to say either Skir Prospector or Muxus needs to go, but I don't think we're there yet. And plus, wait for Amonkhet to get here because you're gonna be real more upset about other mono red cards than Muxus. I guarantee it.
My only issue with Muxus is the, and I know Shinogi, you really feel like we're picking on you right now, but my biggest issue with Muxus is that it's almost 2 collected companies on a 4/4 body, and hitting a Goblin Chieftain and almost any other cards is just backbreaking because you're usually sacrificing, it's 6 mana. This thing usually comes out on turn 3. You're sacrificing 3 do nothing cards. You're getting a 4/4, and then usually what it looks at the top 6. You're running, optimal lands. You're hitting 3 to 5 goblins every time. If one of those is a chieftain on turn 3,
It's game over.
it's game over. Muxus becomes, gets +1/+1 from the chieftain. Haste, so it's a 5/5. You turn it sideways, it's a 6, 7, or 8. Counting the chieftain is 2. Assuming the other 2 are 1/1s, that's 2. That's 8, 10, 12, 14. 14 to 16 points of damage on turn 3 against a mono red deck. And again, some people think, oh well, that's wonderful Christmas land. Yeah, it is, but it happens very often in the deck. You play Goblin Chieftain and slam some 1/1s, and it's an issue.
Also, not to
Krinko,
mention Krinko. I was just
Conspicuous
about to say.
Snoop. Yeah, conspicuous Snoop even too. Just being able to hit Krinko off the top of your deck, and you've got a Krinko on board without having a Krinko on board, and they kill the Snoop. You draw Krinko, play Krinko. What do you do then?
I actually had a match when I was testing Mono Black against the Goblins deck. They mulled a 5, and I didn't mulligan, or did I mull the 6? I don't know, but they mulled the 5, and they had the turn 3 kill in their hand, and I was on stream. I was actually on stream doing this, and I just heartless act the Skir Prospector because I was like, I can't beat the draw, but if I can stall them and get to my spells, because if I land the secret to aggro against aggro, anyways, at least in my eyes, if you're in black, is to play Obliterator. Obliterator is the best card against aggro, period, bar none. They can't beat it. But if I can just cast Obliterator against them, they can't beat me. And I lost that match because I couldn't draw lands. That's the only reason why goblins beat you, is if you stumble. And that's the reason why I lost that match anyway, is because I couldn't draw lands. But if you draw lands and you're trying to control the board and you know what you're facing, I think once the meta is settled and you know that goblins is tier 1 and you know that there's maybe one control deck and you know there's a field deck, you can configure your deck where, yeah, Muxus is a problem, but you can build your 75 in a way that you can kind of like, all right, I know I'm going to face goblins, I know I'm going to face field, and I know I'm going to face some mid-rangey, Thragtusk, Elder, Gargrother, Flash, or whatever. And I think with the Amonkhet release and I think that's the only one. And I guess with Zendikar too, because as we all know, the standard cards are better now in the last 2 years than the last 5 from modern type. But you're going to be able to configure your deck in a way or build it in a way that you're able to kind of fight that fight anyways. Also, I'm one of those players that I feel that if aggro is the best deck in the format, it's better than what we have now or what we had then with Teferi being the best or Reclamation being the best. Because if combo or ramp is the best decks, you can't play Magic. At least if aggro, you know exactly what you have to face. With Reclamation and combo, it's just too good. So, but that's how I feel anyways.
Yeah, I agree. I think that in a world, the one thing that I think about though is this, right, is if goblins remains the best deck and you have to fight, if you're configuring your deck to beat goblins, like that's effectively forcing people into playing decks that can play Grafdigger's Cage, or they're going to probably hedge and play Grafdigger's Cage main deck to hedge against that matchup, right? I guess I don't know whether or not that's smart. I personally love the idea of playing mid deck Grafdigger's Cage in a format that's based around that kind of strategy. It almost feels like you kind of have to shoehorn people in that, and I don't know if that's what they want to do. So we'll see. I guess we'll have to see kind of what the outcry is and what kind of people kind of ultimately come up with, and what Wizards comes up with after we kind of have some time with Amonkhet and see what the format settles into.
I can tell you there was a time that I had to play mainboard Grafdigger's Cages in Modern for a certain mythic that was released that we shall not speak of from a master set. It is abysmal. It is the worst 4 slots you ever have to take up in your board, and you just wish it was anything else every time you draw a second copy.
I'll tell you what, playing goblins a lot in Historic, there's 2 cards that actually kept me at bay. Was the Hushbringer and Ethereal Absolution. Actually kept my tokens at bay. So
I also wonder
that's
if,
a good thing to keep in mind though.
Yeah, I also wonder if like Karavac and Virulent Plague and things like that are gonna help.
Karavac isn't good enough.
Yeah,
It costs too much.
Costs too much.
Yeah.
I mean, Ethereal Absolution does cost a lot too, but once it's out, you really can't do it. Goblins can't really do anything.
I like Absolution because it's an enchantment. Karavac, they just have 2 goblins and then they Incinerator it, Gem Palm Incinerator, and then it just dies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. So I guess lastly here, just to quickly touch on it, Pioneer got huge bans. Inverter of Truth, Kethis, Walking Ballista, and Underworld Breach all banned, which I think for any of us who play Pioneer is a welcome sight. Getting rid of the top decks of the format to open up the format quite a bit. It's a good move, I think, for a lot of people. A lot of people are considering it a good move, and it's kind of interesting to see that they when thinking back to when Historic was announced, when Pioneer was announced, people are like, oh man, Historic sucks, we're gonna go play Pioneer. Now it's the other way around, that Pioneer sucked and then Historic was the kind of the better format, and now it's kind of, they've blown the doors wide open on it. So very exciting to see how that's going to turn out. I think that I wish that Ballista wasn't banned, because Ballista works a lot better works for a lot of other decks too. But neither here nor there. I think should be exciting regardless. Brawl, we kind of talked a little bit about. Teferi kind of is in the same boat. Not a fun card to play for Brawl, I'm sure. So, cool. So that's kind of the state of standard there. And last but not least here today, we are going to cover kind of some sweet updates coming in for the 10th Street Journal. And so I guess to start off, Shinogi, do you want to cover some of that stuff?
Sure. Yeah. Let me look at the notes real quick. Okay. For 10th Street, we started a Patreon to help us keep things going. I'm in the middle of adding the tiers. I know some of the ideas we were talking about were having $1 tier, $5, 10, 20, 50, and 100. It's still up in the air though, but you see, the 5 is the early access to all of our articles. We're gonna start releasing our articles for our $5 tiers a little early, so they can get a heads up on new things in the state of the game and etc. Let's see, the $10 gets you a deck tech strictly just for you. You come up with a deck or stuff like that, and we'll make an article just about the deck that you came up with. On and $20 we'll add on a video. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the $50 and $100 Jagosi?
Yeah. So the way that the $50 and $100 tiers are for people who, if they really enjoy our content, and they want to support us kind of a little bit further than just getting a little bit, getting deck tech or a video or something made about some deck. The $50 tier that we have tentatively is that you can get a spot. You can join us here either on the podcast for a week for one episode, or we're going to be putting out a Commander series, which will kind of cover a little bit more. And we're talking about some of the others. We're going to be doing a Commander series, so you can get in on one of those games with us, and that is going to be on Magic Online. And then the $100 tier is that, kind of the $50 tier turned up. So for $100, you get onto the podcast for a whole month. You can be every single week contributing content and part of what we're doing. And then also you get to be on the Commander episodes for a whole season, which we don't know entirely how long those seasons are going to be at the moment, but you'll get to be on as a regular spot, have a regular spot in there for a whole season for that. Now, obviously, these are not mandatory tiers or anything like that. We're probably honestly going to limit the number of spots that are available at these two tiers, just because they're definitely a little bit more out there, especially considering kind of the economic situations kind of going on in the world right now and things like that. We don't want to make it so that we don't want people to feel forced into getting those tiers. So those are for if you have the means to be able to contribute to help towards what we're doing, you like what we're putting out. They're there for you if you so choose to pick that tier. But those are the two things, just kind of give for those who really want to support a chance to contribute in a different way than just sending a deck into us to write an article on. Right? So really just kind of being a part of the a bit more.
Totally agree. Now the Discord, I decided to open up to the public because it's all about growing together. And I feel like the MTG community just is a great community to learn from. A lot of people have different opinions and stuff like that about different cards and formats and everything. And it gives us stuff to actually take from that and maybe get ideas to write articles about. And I feel like there's a group like really smart MTG our viewers are pretty smart. Just the conversations we have in Magic Talk, I've learned so much just from the few days that we've been public. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I think opening up to the Discord to the communities was actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah, and so we will have the link to join the Discord in the show notes in the description below here. We've named the community the 10th Street Tavern for the moment. I think that's what we're going to stick with. But so yeah, so like Shinogi said, it is open to the public. If you come in, if you play Magic, you want to join in a community that is focused on helping each people, each member of the community grow in whatever goals they have, or just want to hang out and talk with some cool people. That this is.
Did you want to talk about the YouTube channel?
Sure. Yeah. So also we do post the pot. If you're watching this on our YouTube channel, first off, we appreciate it. But we're going to be doing some more regular content as well here on the YouTube channel as well. We're going to be doing different articles or videos for deck techs, or different things, different YouTube based content. Like we mentioned earlier, one of those is going to be like a Commander series where we're going to be playing Commander, playing a game or two of Commander every week with our members here or other folks in the community if they want to or whatever. We'll figure out ways to do that. It's kind of we're at the very beginning planning stages of that, but we will be doing that. We'll be venturing into more formats outside of Arena, so we'll be doing things in Modern, Pioneer, Legacy, Vintage, Pauper. We'll have the opportunity to present some of that content to you guys as well too, and so that'll be stuff that's coming on the YouTube. Twitch as well too. We're gonna end up doing things for Twitch. We're gonna be looking to we're primarily gonna be using it for the next thing we're gonna talk about, but we will also be doing things on that Twitch as well too. So we haven't set that up, but we'll kind of keep everyone posted in the Discord with all those links as those kind of go live. And then lastly here, Braxton is not here to talk about this stuff, but this was kind of something that him and Shinogi had kind of talked about a bit prior, was tournaments. So Shinogi, do you want to talk about that, or do you want me to?
I don't want to release too much into it because it is
Sure.
out in the air right now.
Sure. But just kind of as a general topic, that we want to start throwing some events, some tournaments, community tournaments. So that is something that will be on the horizon. Like Shinogi said, it's still in the planning stages. It's a lot of that's kind of up in the air at the moment. So more details to come on that. But definitely stay tuned for all of that stuff coming down the pipeline. So very exciting updates coming to the 10th Street Tavern and 10th Street Journal. Be sure to we'll put out announcements on the website as well too if you're following the website, as well. So we'll probably do an announcement video or announcement post here in the Discord as well too. So definitely make sure you're joining in on that as well. I guess lastly here, do you guys have anything you guys wanted to touch on, or articles that you guys got coming up this week that you're excited about?
I will be part of the article team or publishing articles on the 10th Street website. I will be on Tuesday. My first one is going to be on the Amonkhet drop, but it's going to be looking at specifically what cards I think are actually going to be good, or what we know that's good. Cards that I think are traps, and cards that are sleepers that people either forgotten about or that will get some brew juices flowing, like new perspectives.
That should be exciting for sure. Coming up with some lists and some decks for some of those cards should be exciting to see what's possible with all of the wide variety of things we have now. Poki or Shinogi, what do you guys got coming up this week?
I've actually got my my bio post I will be making. I'll be throwing up my intro to PokePope 101 article. I know we talked about it a little earlier this week. We kind of realized that we hadn't done any yet. I've had a very, very hectic week. So I figured this would be a good week just to sit down and say hi. I am Pokey Pope. This is what I am about. These are the things I like about Magic. These are the things I don't like about Magic. What's my favorite food? What kind of dog do I have?
I like it.
Answer is none. I don't have a dog.
Okay.
Wow.
So funny. Okay, cool. Shinogi, what about you, man?
Honestly, I don't have an article in mind on my specific day, but I am probably going to do an earlier article about the breakdown of the Red Bull tournament. I'll write some notes while I'm in it and what I ran into and just the top decks that are on the board, basically, and just break them down.
Okay, sure. Very cool. Awesome. Well, guys, I think that's it. I think that's going to be a wrap. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys, Shinogi, Pokey, and John for joining us today. Podcast. And
Appreciate being here.
with that, I think that's going to be it for us. So from everybody here at the 10th Street Journal, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, drop some comments below, and make sure you check out the links for the Discord as well too, and the Patreon and whatnot. But otherwise, we will see you guys in the next episode.